Okay. And I use captions myself, so if you would like to view the captions, there's a button at the bottom that says CC Live Transcript. You can go ahead and hit that. I have my chat window open as well. If you want to view the chat, there's a little chat button right to the left of the green share screen button. And sometimes we put messages in there or links. I have varying degrees of ability to copy links. Sometimes it doesn't let me copy it, but if I just go to it, click on the link, and my browser window opens, and then I just kind of save that for after the meeting. I just leave it up somewhere on my desktop. Finally figured that out. So I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Iowa Democratic Party Disability Caucus, and welcome this evening to everyone. There's a couple of new faces, which you'll be glad that we usually do introductions. And apparently here's my dinner, which I'm just gonna have to stare at, you know. Looks good. He told me it's hot. It's taco salad, so I will not be eating that on camera. So I would like to start by doing a little bit of a just introduction. Say who you are. I could start off and just give you just basically what the meeting is tonight. Just say who you are and where you're from, and you know, we can do kind of a brief introduction. First off, my name's Julie Russell Stewart. I'm chair of the Iowa Democratic Disability Caucus, and my term ends in this coming June. So I've been doing this for almost 2 years, and it almost kind of seems like you need about that much time to get used to everything that you could be doing. I've found that my role seems to be kind of using my writing skills and speaking skills, which I've been developing over the past 2 years, just to try to be a voice for people with disabilities and whatever is going on, especially during the pandemic, where I helped create another group called Science for Safe Schools, and we really activated to try to bring masks back. But that mandate, you know, went through court case, ACLU, and just try to keep the awareness of how much people with disabilities were impacted by COVID. So that became a very big theme in my time as chair. I'm also an artist and printmaker. So that's my background. And I would like to popcorn it over to one of our new faces, Deb VanderGaast. Welcome tonight. And if you're not speaking, please go ahead and put yourself on mute, which I'm doing. Deb, you are muted.
There, is that better? Okay, good. My system, I had to switch over. My name is Deb VanderGaast, and I am a registered nurse, and I am owner and director of a child care center for children with special needs. I am also a respite nurse for Camp Courageous, and I'm a candidate for Iowa Senate. And I have been working with children and adults with disabilities in various roles and settings since I was 11 years old. And I also have children of my own with special needs.
Would you like to go next, Julie? Sure. And you can just popcorn it to someone else when you're done.
Okay, my name is Julie Zaug. I live in West Bend, Iowa. I've taught school for almost 30 years and am now semi-retired until they drag me out to teach first graders. And I like to listen in and I like to learn. And my goal is I'm also on the Palo Alto Democrats Platform Committee. We have our final meeting tomorrow, and I want to put in some kind of plank that would be most useful. And I don't know what that would be, so I'm hoping the group will help me. Because if we don't, put possible legislation in front of our legislators, they're just going to ignore the issues and do something else. Michelle.
Do you mean me? Am I the only Shelly or okay? Okay, I'm Shelly Servadio Elias. I am state chairwoman of the Veterans Caucus of the Iowa Democratic Party. I am also running for State House District 96. It's newly created by the redistricting. I'm also on our county district platform committee. And my experience is I've gone all the way to be on the state platform committee and be our state chair of military and veterans affairs. Most recently, the last time we did that was in 2018. And that's where I helped us get on my section of platform where we did military and veterans affairs, we got that passed by unanimous consent. And one of the things I'm most proud of is we opposed trans ban on there. It was one of the last things we got added to the state platform at state convention. And that has aged well. So one of the things that you're asking about, wanting to get something on platform that has to do with disability rights, I think that that's really a key thing to be asking for, because that literally becomes something that we as the delegates all stand as a voice and vote for at state convention. And then that becomes something that we can tell the legislators, hey, we've asked for this, we voted on it, we all say we stand for it. It comes from all the counties, all the delegates vote for it. And then they can go back to the Iowa House, the Iowa Senate, and as Democrats say, this is the basis for what we want to propose for legislation. So it is important that we try to get planks out there and work on them, and be it from the county level or the district level, all the way to the state level. And don't forget, platform is continuous. It isn't limited to the district, to the state convention cycle. And all of the constituency caucuses have the ability to be the voice for our underserved populations or minority populations. And we should always be striving for, whenever needs come up that are unmet for these populations, that we can be working on platform. Thank you, I'm done.
That's true. And we have some examples that I will bring up later. Thanks, Michelle. Shelly. Eric, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Eric. Eric Dudon from Black Hawk County. And for right now, I serve as the vice chair of the Disability Caucus. I'm really big into being an activist and following a lot of where bills are in the state legislature right now. So that's me. Who hasn't gone yet? Mauricio.
Hey y'all. So I'm kind of driving right now, so it might not be good to sort of aim the camera in my face. But I can, but I don't want to crash. So yeah, hi, this is Mauricio Diaz. I live in Cedar Rapids, and I'm actually working for the Iowa Democratic Party as a constituency engagement director. But I'm also helping out in the 4th District as we look for someone to hire there. So pretty exciting. I'm meeting a lot of folks here too, but definitely any way that I can help the cause, I would love to help. And if you'd like to, if you have an idea, when I first met Julie, she had a lot of ideas, and 2 years has gone past by, but you've done so much, Julie, for disability rights, and I just want you to continue to grow as a caucus here too. So if you guys have an idea and need help making that into an event or an action, I would love to help. And I'll see, who do I pass it to? I'll pass it to Cheryl. Did Cheryl speak?
Yeah, so my name is Cheryl Oldenkamp and I am a National Certified Guardian, currently working with Guardians in Northeast Iowa. However, I head up the whole western side of Iowa. I have about 35 people on my caseload that I am guardian for, and we serve about 175 throughout Iowa. So we work a lot with people with intellectual disabilities or the elderly population that, are vulnerable and not able to make, decisions for themselves. I also have a background in targeted case management before Medicaid, and I worked at an MCO, and I also was a social services director at a nursing facility. So that's kind of my background on this whole mess. And I saw your post on MCO Watchdog, so that's how I came about.
Yes, and I actually would love to finalize the resolution that Julie started working on tonight, if we can hammer it out, especially as so many platforms are being finalized and having their last meetings. Julie's is tomorrow. Thanks, Cheryl, and really great to meet you. Glad you're here. Ruth Walker, would you go next?
Yeah, I got back. I'm at UNI Library and I was on their system and it cut me off and said it was not safe or something. So I went through my iPhone and it worked. I'm interested in all of the concerns of people that I don't see directly. And so I always learn something and hope I can advocate for the people who need the voice whenever I'm every place else. I appreciate you letting everybody come. Oh, and I'm on the platform committee for Black Hawk County. Like also, I don't know about whether I'll be going on to district and state. But the ideas for what's needed are always welcome.
Thanks, Ruth. Madeline, do you want to say anything, or should I just introduce you? Well, I know Madeline Copel is our affirmative action representative in, I think I forgot the county, and she has been one of our members that has been pretty much on every meeting and has a good way of, obviously I wasn't prepared to introduce Madeline tonight, but let's just say I really appreciate her and her presence and warmth and intelligence. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and now that we've introduced ourselves, I had sent the agenda out to everyone, and I think I just want to go ahead and start with that. We don't actually have a quorum tonight, and the way we usually deal with that is if we have anything that we must vote on, we send a ballot out afterwards, and that takes care of our need for making sure everyone has the opportunity to vote. So by sending a ballot electronically through a Google form, we meet quorum that way. So first on our agenda, I'm just going to do my chair's report, and I'm starting with some updates on our SCC meetings that we've had recently. Every constituency caucus chair is a member of the State Central Committee, and that is the governing body of the Iowa Democratic Party. So we come together at least 4 times a year, but often more, to discuss and vote on different things, from resolutions to proposals, changes. And we had a regular meeting on February 12th, but it was a shortened version of a meeting. It was only an hour long. And the reason for that was the budget was being proposed, and it would be, the treasurer's report would be, approved and everything. And unfortunately, one of our members who is deaf and uses American Sign Language was told by our chair, Ross Wilburn, that she would not have any ASL interpretation for the rest of the year because it was being cut out of the budget. And this is, in a nutshell, exactly why I'm here as Disability Caucus Chair, is to maintain accessibility and participation for all of our Iowa Democrats in these meetings that we have, especially State Central Committee, where information is confusing sometimes. If you had trouble keeping up, if you were trying to understand, like the captioning for someone with ASL would not be their first language. Reading English, written English is not American Sign Language. It is they are completely different. So when that happened, this member texted me and said, okay, I was just told this. This was only 2 days before the meeting on Saturday, or actually a day and part of an evening. So, that goes against our accessibility that we have in our Constitution here with the Iowa Democratic Party, and it goes against the ADA. So we had to organize to see what we could do. And after a day of organizing, we had a letter that this member wrote, sent out to everyone, and other SCC members rallied in support of her. And so we made it pretty clear to the chair and the administration that we needed the accessibility in the budget. And thankfully they listened, because, we spoke and made a hard reverse on that. And one of our other members had called a friend of hers that was an interpreter, who actually was one of our regular interpreters, and found that they had some availability for Saturday morning. So that is why we had 1 hour meeting, because our interpreter only had 1 hour to give, to be hired for. And then we finished the rest of the meeting later, about 2 weeks later. So right there was exactly why I am here, to help maintain that accessibility, and to say, we need to keep in mind that we have civil rights, and a budget does not trump all. So, okay, I actually did not expect that I was going to have to do that at all. I felt pretty confident in that we had accommodations for every meeting, but suddenly it seemed to be on the table or the cutting floor. Okay, and then we had another SCC meeting where we were passing that treasurer's report, or approving it and everything, asking the questions we needed to. The accommodations were back in the budget at that point, so that was very good. I was unable to get a good accommodation for one of our other members who has a complicated, several disabilities that are complicated, and I was not able to assist the process enough, because it needs to be a back and forth process, not just here's what we decided we're going to do. And that is something we still need to educate our leadership a little bit on, and how that accommodation process works in the ADA. But at that meeting, we also discussed a pipeline resolution. You may be familiar with a Summit company that is building a pipeline across Southwest Iowa and Northwest Iowa. At least they want to, but they have only about 2% of landowners that have signed contracts, because there's a pretty big push back against this for a variety of reasons. One is the eminent domain land grab. Just, we'll take your land and we're going to put our business on it. We're going to run a pipeline through your land and we're going to make lots of money. You know, eminent domain for a public good like a park and something seems understandable, but it really does not seem fair if it's just a land grab by a corporation. So Shelly and Vets Caucus, our Progressive Caucus members, myself, and Rural Caucus, and then one of our members on SCC is Emma Schmidt. She is a Food and Water Watch activist and organizer. She's employed by them, and this has been her work for the last year. So she wrote a resolution, and we have our own resolution to look at tonight. I will have a ballot of a couple of resolutions going out later, but this resolution was presented to the SCC and we did not get it passed. The vote was 21-17, which shows you that, you know, it's a pretty almost equal footing there, but that was unfortunate that we could not side with the landowners and farmers and environmental potential impacts of a pipeline breaking, leaking. Anyway, there's just so many reasons, but that was one of our biggest issues that we had on SCC meeting just a week ago. Okay, in terms of another report that I'm gonna throw on here, which is we had a event with our Science for Safe Schools, and I have some pictures to share from that. That is on Valentine's Day. We going for the share button here. On Valentine's Day, we participated in Iowa Immunizes, and that was a day on the Hill where we could talk to legislators about vaccines, and there was actually a pop-up vaccination clinic. And this right here is 2 ray gun shirts. I'm actually wearing a ray gun shirt right now. We got Tracy Murphy with our Progressive Caucus and Brooke Easton with our Science for Safe Schools, which is the group that organized the sit-in, the group that I helped put together back in August. They are laying out the flags that we had used for COVID memorial. We decided to lay them out and show approximately how many people could have been saved if they had gotten the vaccine. So this was a rough estimate of about 3,000 of these flags to represent people we lost that we didn't need to, if only people were getting the vaccine when they could. And this is Shelly getting her COVID booster shot. And this is right there in the Capitol Rotunda. And I believe Ann Meyer, a Republican representative, gave her the shot and did an extremely good job. And we had a nice big sign that was hand painted by one of the volunteers that we've been working with Iowa Immunizes. And this is Representative ACO, I think. More pictures. This is Nathan Boonstra. He was there as a physician. Pharmacists and physicians were there to talk to people about their questions. And League of Women Voters kind of stuck around a little bit to talk to us too. And that's our display. So I've been doing quite a few events as Disability Caucus combined with Science for Safe Schools. And we had our table out there with materials. And this is Laura, who did the sign. She is a former circus aerialist, and she is really looking forward to doing some more art graphics with us. And I want to make big giant puppets eventually with her. Find a reason to make them. Okay. So thanks for humoring me there. I'm gonna continue on. The next thing I have is a social media report, because I realized that suddenly I do have some good things happening with that, and I thought I would just let you know how we're doing on our social media. I'm scrolling back here. Okay, I'll do a share screen. So this represents the last month, and we've been on Facebook, we've been on Twitter, but the last month they added Instagram and TikTok. Our discussion group has always been about this number of members, and we have active members who regularly see posts. In the last month, 4 new members. In our page, which is our public facing page, where the discussion group is just people that are in a private group, we have 9 new followers, 9. So it's a little bit slow there. But in Twitter, things have really kind of ramped up. We've been on there since 2020 in July, and we've had 71 followers in the last month, which is really good. 33,000.3 impressions over a 28-day period. One of our top tweets was one that I probably spent about 2 hours on, at least 2.5 hours. And that was this one. Zach Walls did a post that had a long thread, and he put a newspaper article with every single post about Governor Reynolds' failings. And so I'm like, wow, that's a really good idea. I think I could do the same thing, because we've got all these articles from Science for Safe School media coverage, when we had the sit-in and everything. So I did an 8-part tweet with newspaper media article on every one of them, with different statements on Reynolds and a timeline essentially of what happened when. And that had 13,240 impressions, which was crazy, but it really was worth it to work on it that much. And there were a bunch more people that followed us as a result of that. 568 engagements. So that will be a hard one to beat, I think. But our next one, I did a thread on the accommodations story that I just told you about ASL. And that had quite a lot of engagement as well. And we also, our stance against the pipeline was a popular one. So anyway, our Twitter has really taken off, and more people have started to recognize the Disability Caucus voice on Twitter, which is really good. Okay, in our new accounts, have a Instagram, Iowa Disability Caucus. I only have 4 posts up on it and 23 followers. Then I started a TikTok, which is really my personal TikTok, but I'm going to use it as a caucus TikTok as well. I haven't posted anything yet because I've heard that you need to be really, really careful about your first post because it sort of determines, it's like a first impression. So one thing, I don't know TikTok, so I'm trying to study how do I do a good first impression. Okay. Thanks for that. So that is basically my report for everything that's been going on. I would like to acknowledge Shelly, Servadio, Elias, who wanted to say a little bit about her candidacy for the district. So I will turn it over to her. Just a quick note, we won't be hearing from Eric right now because, well, anyway, he said that he wasn't delivering a report tonight. So I would like.
That's because I was a little under the weather. So there was a reason behind that.
Okay, if you want to take about 5 minutes or so and give an introduction of why you're running and everything.
Hi. I didn't really have anything huge or formal planned. I just wanted to just say hi, I'm Shelly, and I'm running for office because I believe that in Iowa, we don't have adequate representation for minority rights. We have terrible things going on right now because of a lack of balance of power in the state house, at the governor's, from the top down. They have a trifecta, and I have shown that I can be effective in bipartisanship. And most recently, what I've done with Veterans Caucus, with my caucus, I did legislative agenda, and I used bipartisanship to get this done. And I partnered with my GOP Veterans Caucus equivalent at the State House. And I also took grassroots, the Veterans National Recovery Center, and we all sat down and we hammered out a legislative agenda that took into account what veterans are asking for statewide, everywhere. And it doesn't matter what political party, but the voices of all veterans, because we're minorities. And then I had my vet stay at the Hill. Our lobbying day is 119 this year. And I called my all-state meeting for my Veterans Caucus, but I also invited Veterans Caucus of the GOP. And that's kind of unprecedented for the Iowa Democrats to collaborate with the opposing party to get something done. But in this day and age, the way that things are run, if you're a Democrat, you can't even propose legislation without a Republican sponsor. You can't even get anything out of Pat Grassley, to get it read and get it introduced to the House. So I knew in order to get things done for veterans, I had to have a different approach. So this is what I did. I did my meeting. I did my legislative agenda, bipartisanship. I worked and I collaborated with the other side. I reached across the aisle and we had a successful meeting. And then I took my legislative agenda down to the House floor, and I was able to go into the House chambers and walk around and freely advocate for my agenda. Rep Molly Donahue let me come down, and I was her guest. And so was Bruce Beeston is my my cohort. And a big part of my legislative agenda is right now working its way through committees on both sides, through the Senate and through the House of Representatives. And so it's been successful. And I know that I can, because I can take that approach and work effectively, I know that I can be a good legislator. I know that I can work effectively with legislators and accomplish agenda that can benefit the civil rights of all Iowans. And that's going to work with whatever whatever problem comes our way, whether it be funding for schools, whether it be the civil rights of our trans youth, whether it be our religion, the separation of church and state, women's reproductive rights, all of these key issues that are pressing. These are the things that we need to work on. I believe that this approach has served me well for both of my terms as chairwoman of Veterans Caucus, and I want to take that with me as I forge ahead and help get us back to focusing on the issues and not on divisive politics, and bringing us back towards a more unity and not fighting, and being solutions oriented versus like he said, she said, and backbiting and fighting, because we're not going to get anywhere. We're just going to keep having gridlock. So I think that my approach has shown to work. It's shown to be effective. And when you stick up for the civil rights of veterans, you stick up for the civil rights of all Iowans. And so I'm running for Iowa House District 96, and I hope you guys will support me, and I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shelly.
All right.
I can see why I'm behind this woman all the way. And I feel like I should give Deb VanderGaast an opportunity also, as she's a candidate, to say something. And you're in the same area almost.
Yeah, I'm in Cedar County, East Central Iowa. So I'm kind of triangulated between Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, and the Quad Cities. So rural county, but part of my district actually goes into the Quad Cities, the northern half of Davenport. So I am running for Senate District 41. I've been for years, locals have been saying, when are you going to run for office? And I keep saying someday. I'm busy. Well, I'm also the social media administrator for the Cedar County Democrats. So with the redistricting, I was kind of following up, okay, what does this change in redistricting mean for our county? Who's going to be our senator, since our current senator, Zach Walls, was drawn out of our district. And I got to digging, and there was one sitting Republican, one sitting Democrat. And wouldn't you know, one announced he's running for state office and the other announced he's retiring. Open seat. I suddenly stopped being too busy to run for office. So made a joke on Twitter, because I'm known as the nap time activist in my personal account. Gee, if my daycare goes under, I'm going to need a new job. Should I run? I was not expecting the overwhelming response I got. And Zach Walls got me connected with the Senate Democrat Majority Fund. My local Democratic Party is just wonderfully supportive. And of course, my Twitter, you were showing your Twitter statistics. I don't know if you saw what I was posting about mine and yesterday. It has exploded, like over 300,000 reach in 6 weeks and 1,000 followers. So yeah, so this is an exciting time. I've long been involved in legislation and policy writing, bipartisan. I mean, Bobby Kaufman, I'm sure we all know Two-Fingered Bobby, is my local representative. And he has written several bills that I've proposed. And one of them, and they've all been bipartisan with sponsors from both parties, became the Epinephrines in Schools Act of 2015. And so that was my proposal. And so I've said that I've long been working behind the scenes, advocating for families, especially low-income families, people with disabilities, and just people just struggling to get by. And so now is my chance to step up and take the lead. Instead of asking somebody else to write my bills, I write them. So I definitely on the disability side, the thing that's most concerning to me right now, one is privatization of Medicaid. You know, so many people just are getting denied services. I used to do home care services before I opened my daycare center, mostly doing waiver services for people with disabilities so they can live in their homes independently. And, you know, so many agencies have just dropped those services because the Medicaid is so horrible. Now they've got a worker shortage. And, you know, what's going to happen to these people if their families can't fill in when they can't get workers? They're going to end up institutionalized or they're going to die. I mean, this is not just about access and communication. This is lives. And so, you know, we've got to get back to not making the care of people with disabilities a privatized medical system. It's just not right. Just not right. So I would definitely say we got to have a plank there. This cannot be a for-profit industry.
Thank you. Absolutely. I mean, that has been one of the consistent messages throughout so far my time here. And we have advocates, strong ones in this caucus who are not with us tonight, unfortunately, but they have worked so hard with organizations like Upgrade Medicaid to tell the stories of anyone who needs the home care assistance, anyone faced with, I don't know what I'm going to do because I can't find a provider and I don't want to go to the hospital institution. I don't want to go there. I want to be in my own home. So many of those stories, and I think that they are starting to make an impact with DHS. I've heard that they've been sitting down in meetings and talking with the top brass there, and they're finally listening because they know they need to, you know, right? They know that what was it called? The Department of Justice review of Iowa's failing institutions, you know, that report is a sit up and take notice report. So, and I'm probably telling plenty of people that know everything about this, especially Cheryl.
Curious if you folks are aware of something that happened with the Medicaid waivers, I want to say 8-9 years ago. Used to be that child care providers, pardon, my dogs are barking. My kids just came home. Hold on, I'm on meeting. That child care providers could provide respite waiver services. And at the time, I was the only children's mental health waiver provider in Cedar County. They went through and did an audit of child care providers, found that many of them were not compliant with policy and documentation regulations. And they dropped child care providers entirely as a category. So anybody who was using a child care provider for respite or IMMT lost their services, including kids I was taking care of. Rather than saying, hey, let's provide training so that these providers know how to do the documentation and know what policies they need to have. It was a training need. They failed to train them. Mm-hmm. And even the ones like myself that were compliant, they wouldn't even let us continue. They just dropped the category. So that's something that needs to change, because especially in rural areas, it's really hard to get services. If we can get more childcare providers providing those services. I mean, when we talk about community-based services and with their same, you know, their non-disabled peers, that's childcare. Otherwise, the services are happening isolated and in their homes. So that's something else I'd like to address too at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yes. To your note on the privatization of Medicaid, I was just on a Progressive Caucus meeting last night with Deidre DeJear, and I asked a pretty big question, which is kind of the basis of our resolution I hope to get to later. Just reading Tom Harkin's op-ed in the Register had some good ideas. He laid it out pretty clearly what Iowa needs to do. So I asked her directly, what do you think of this? And she, she had a fairly good answer. But, it lacked detail, it lacked things that we probably need to educate her on more about this whole situation. But another person on the call asked her about the privatization. Can we roll that back? And she said, I looked into that and it would take so much work. It would take years of working on court cases and hiring attorneys. And I was just kind of shocked at that because I thought, well, is it really that hard? But you know why it's so hard? The reason it's hard is you have to work with the insurance companies, right? You're like, you have kind of said you're going to bring insurance companies and hospitals to the table and talk about healthcare costs. But if you're allowing those insurance companies to influence your policy, then of course it's going to be a long, long battle to deprivatize Medicaid. So, that wasn't really what I wanted to hear. It
I gotta
was.
say, what did it take them a year to privatize it?
Anyway, just thought I would note that.
Can I jump in here? This is Eric
Sure.
from Black Hawk County. I was really disappointed in that answer, and I'm not talking about what you said, Julie. I'm disappointed in the answer of our Democratic gubernatorial candidate. Just her saying it was just too hard or so hard. Just because something's hard doesn't mean you don't try. In this state, Julie's been working with her Safe Science School project, Science for Safe School project, and she's been working uphill, but she still works on that. And so my response to Deidre DeJear is that she should take a page out of Liz Mathis's book, because Liz Mathis always puts out a bill ever since she's been in the legislature, or at least ever since 2015 and 2016, that she offers a bill that puts everything back the way it used to be and just basically discontinues the privatization. It doesn't go anywhere, but it means that the Democrats take a stand and say, this is the way it should be. And the fact that our gubernatorial candidate doesn't want to do that, of like, well, I'm going to, if I get in office, this is what I'm going to try to do, or this is what I'm going to advocate be done, that Deidre DeJear doesn't even try to do that. That's disappointing. So that's my position. That's my personal position. And that probably should be my position as vice chair if she would listen to the recording. I mean, that's what I would say out loud too. So that's my position. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Eric. And actually that just kind of leads me into our new business, where we have an opportunity to speak with Deidre. When I was on the Progressive Caucus meeting last night, I brought up that question, and I also brought up the idea of having an event with her where she could talk to lots of our disability advocates and activists and answer questions. And she really liked that idea and had me get her campaign manager's email address, and I've already emailed her. So I see having an event that will be both in person and hybrid, because I want to make sure that we have an opportunity for anyone who does not want to travel or risk themselves still around, and have a hybrid event that would be like a town hall or in a coffee place. I'm not quite sure how big it would get, but we would have the opportunity to ask her questions and convince her maybe that we've got to get rid of the privatization of Medicaid. If we work on educating her and having our voices heard, maybe we will get somewhere on this. We don't just give up. You're absolutely right, Eric. We do not give up. We keep pressing forward on this. So I'm very excited to plan this, and I kind of need a planning committee. So if you're interested in planning this event, please send an email to me. And I have yet to hear back. It's only been a day, but I'm hoping that the best time would be maybe end of April, which would give me a full month to make sure I put enough press out on this and have the questions that we want to ask all figured out, as well as the technology of having a hybrid event. And then just giving everyone an opportunity to contribute to it in terms of the different questions we would have. That takes time, so no less than a month, I think, would be great. So I'm excited about that. And we're also, helping boost her in the public spotlight. As the only Democratic candidate, we can't not do that, even though we would disagree with some of these things. She needs to take stands on things. And so as she meets with different people, I hope that those stances will be becoming clearer and people can look to her and say, okay, yeah, you are on for this. And I agree with you. I'll support you. Okay, so the next thing I'm moving to, looking at our page here, we're going to be doing some official endorsements from our Disability Caucus, but we need a questionnaire for candidates. We need to be able to send out, these are our top questions we have for you. We are interested in these issues. What do you think of them? What are your plans to do? What legislation can you put forth that helps people with disabilities in these areas? So we need a good questionnaire. And again, please email me if you would like to help with that. Ideally, May would be a great time for endorsements because, or even late April, we would have a chance to get them out before the primary in June. And other business, we might have Kimberly Graham on next month to speak with us. She's running for Polk County Attorney. And I imagine we'll have some questions for her as well when she comes and speaks with us. And one of the things I probably would want to bring up is people with disabilities and police brutality. The cases of people who are not understood, at that moment in time when something is happening, when someone has a weapon or someone appears to be hurting someone. At that moment in time, there may be an issue with a disability, a mental illness, there may be something else going on. And what ends up happening is the police do not interact with that person in a way that de-escalates the situation. And that person may get hurt, that person may get killed, as we've seen. And I think that's a very important aspect of training, and also the idea that maybe the police are not the right force to bring in. Maybe we need some mental health task force to be dispatched when it appears that there's someone having a mental issue. Okay, so anyway, that's maybe one of my pet questions for her, but she would be responsible for taking or not taking certain cases, and not promoting different things. She can do so much, I think, differently than other attorneys are doing. Okay, our next thing is I've created a Google form for signing up for our caucus, and I would like to put this out on social media and also put it in our conventions coming up. That might be a paper form or online, depending on the convention. My convention in 2nd District will be online with Google Forms. So that may be, just an extra form people can choose to, use or not. And then if we had an in-person convention at state, or perhaps a hybrid convention at state, we may be able to have a table as Disability Caucus and have our sign-up sheet just to keep engaging and bringing in more members to our caucus. Just as a reminder, our county conventions are the 26th of March, and maybe some of you are involved in that with platform and all that. And then district is April 23. Mine is online. Others may be hybrid or in person. And at that point, if you are a delegate, continuing on through district and then state, I believe there's an election at district for delegates that continue on. Oh, I mean, a county convention for delegates that continue to both district and state. Okay. So also I wanted to note that one of the important things that delegates do, of course, is elect the next state central committee members, which as the governing body of the Iowa Democratic Party can have a pretty big influence. So it is an important job as a delegate to make decisions about who will become representing, the Iowa Democratic Party. I'm going to stop my share because I think I reached the end of that. Yeah. So I was just going to say that you do not need to be a delegate in order to run for state central committee. Delegates will elect you, but you do not actually need to be a delegate. And I'm sure Mauricio can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a lot of rules to learn. But I'm just throwing it out there that may be something you're interested in doing. Although if you're going to be running for office, you are prevented from doing that. You will not be holding office and being a state central committee member. So does anyone have any questions about everything that I just ran through in terms of new things happening or SCC? Or yes, go ahead, Michelle.
I think that you do have to be a delegate to run to be on SCC at district.
I've heard it both ways, but I should get that.
You do not have to be a delegate to run to be one of the chairs of the constituency caucuses if you are already a sitting chair to run for re-election. But to run to be on the state central committee is part of the convention process. Seated delegates run at their district conventions to be on the state central committee. And then if there is a vacancy, then that's when the body of the SCC within that district and the county chairs, then they vote for members of their district central committee. Then they can vote for somebody to replace a member from the SCC. And then those people that are members of the central committee, they are already delegates because they're seated members of their central committee. So I'm pretty sure you have to be a delegate to run.
Since I was elected as a chair of a caucus, that didn't apply to me at all, so it wasn't something I went through, and yeah,
you were
a lot of
never-
different rules.
you were never a delegate or elected delegate from anywhere you
Yeah, I was a delegate at county, but
okay,
not at
were
this.
somewhere. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I think since we haven't heard from Mauricio, then you're probably right.
I mean, I'm looking into it too. You know, the one out of the four of us. Well, I can ask Blair. I'm asking Blair right now, but I know Sarah. She did conventions too. But
Yeah.
I think,
Unless,
Yeah.
unless they've changed it. But so what they did with us that got elected in July to be constituency caucus chairs, somehow they changed the rules for us and changed our election, but they did it without changing the Constitution, which was incorrect. That should have never happened. Unless you change the Constitution, you can't change how the constituency caucus chairs get elected or our elections. And somehow they bypassed that, and they did that. And they had our elections separate from the convention. And then we got elected after the last SCC meeting. And then they went on and had another SCC meeting without us being elected, which was incorrect behavior as well. So there was a lot of things that shouldn't have been happening that happened that all violated the Constitution of the IDP. So we have to make sure that those kind of things don't keep happening, and that if changes need to be made to the Constitution, that the bylaws process get followed, and any amendments that need to be made need to get submitted to the chair and the executive director, like that 30 days prior, and like all those rules get followed if we want to see changes get made. We've had 2 years, we've had pandemic, we've figured out virtual. If we want changes to be made in those processes, then we should follow the correct procedures and not just make up our own.
The reason
Wow.
all that happened though is because they were scrambling to deal with the pandemic and how that changed everything and made things go virtual.
But having extra meetings and voting on money being spent, and then having an extra election outside the convention process, none of those things were necessary. They still could have had constituency caucus chairs, because that's 12 members of SCC that they decided to elect separate from the convention process, which they still managed to have virtually. So no, no, that's an excuse. So I mean, like, I hear what you're saying, but I don't accept that they should keep acting like that this time.
Right. I'm actually looking at the bylaws right now, and for voting membership at the SCC, it says it should consist only of 32 district members elected equally by the 4 congressional districts at their biennial conventions.
Right. So they have to be delegates.
District members.
Mhm.
That doesn't say delegate.
To go to convention, you have to be a delegate
Oh,
or an alternate.
right.
yeah, I can ask Blair,
Yeah.
maybe from like official writing, just rather than
Well, I think
get from Sarah.
we got this figured out. Your district member, if you're at the district convention, you're a delegate, right? Or you're on a committee.
Yeah, it's not my first rodeo. It's the second time I've been a chair of a caucus, Mauricio.
I'm talking about Sarah. No, so I can still get more guidance in general. just to make sure.
Well, I guess I could ask you guys, is anyone immediately interested in, or a couple things that we've got coming up, which is writing a questionnaire for endorsements, and then the planning committee for the Deidre DeJear Town Hall.
I'm interested in the Deidre DeJear event.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You know what, Julie? Anybody that wants to be a delegate that isn't one now, or if they were like an alternate, they need to get more alternates involved, So like, say someone can't make it and they're a delegate, they can ask that person, can I take your place? And then that person can sign it over to them if they're in their district. So like, if someone still wants to participate, there's still ways to participate.
Mhm.
There's like, if there's a will, there's a way. So like, it still could be opened up to them. Right? So there's like, there's always a way.
Oh, I see your note in the chat. If the candidate weren't a delegate, they would need a delegate from district to nominate them. Oh,
I
okay.
think that's probably what Shelly
Um,
means, too, right? Because like if someone, like if I'm not mistaken, like let's say if only 5 people showed up to their caucus and those 5 people were only delegates, does that mean that the county convention is only a delegation of 5 people, and then like if they have extra people that show up, can they take those people to district because they're nominated by a delegate, and don't, and would that person like then turn into a delegate technically for district, and then potentially then like if they chose to run for SCC they could, right? Would that
If
be the way that you
they
mean?
were
Like,
as alternates on caucus night, like if they asked someone to put them down to be an alternate on their caucus night, then they would be on the list of alternates. Or if someone who was already an alternate decided they didn't want to do it anymore, then they could nominate someone to take their place. And that could be any registered Democrat. And then they would have to sign their paper over. And then that person would bring that paper with them for when they go to the convention. And then they would have to go through credentialing. So that way they wouldn't get like be a challenge delegate or whatever. So, but yeah, there's always a way. Like you could give up your spot to another registered Democrat if you're a delegate and you want to nominate somebody else to take your spot. You can do that.
Thank
Mhm.
you, both Michelle and Mauricio, and I'm sure Deb is saying to herself, "Yep, done this." Okay, we are through the new business right now. And you all have any questions?
I'd like to answer some questions.
Bring up.
Julie, I'd like to answer some questions that have been brought up in the meeting. So I know that Deb VanderGaast was talking about the guardianship and conservatorship bill, Senate File 348 earlier in the meeting.
That was Cheryl.
Cheryl.
Cheryl had to pop off already.
Okay, well, she was talking about that earlier in the meeting. I did find that was introduced on the calendar as of today, yesterday or today. So that was introduced to the Senate debate calendar either yesterday or today. And so that's the update I got there. There's not much on the billboard because we're post funnel, after the February 18th funnel. So there's less bills than there used to be before the funnel, obviously. And there was an update that I did not get an opportunity to provide, that one of our advocates died on March 2nd. So Sherry Clark out of Cedar Rapids did die. She had some health issues and she died on March 2nd. And let's see. The vice chair for the Iowa DD Council is moving from where he's living now to Waverly. So he'll be moving to our local 2nd congressional district. And he let me know earlier that $53.5 million was set aside for healthcare concerns and health and human services budget. But 25 million of that was for changes at Glenwood. So I think that's all I got. I'm hoping I answered some questions that I didn't necessarily get to earlier in the meeting. So I guess I
Eric?
also,
Thank you. There any other,
I stopped because somebody was trying to ask a question.
I apologize. I'm sorry, Eric. Can you give me just like, what does that new conservatorship bill say? What is it trying to do?
Let's see, I didn't have that pulled up.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I just wondered if you knew what it said. I understand. Okay,
Not off the top of my head. I'd have to look it back. I'd have to pull it back up.
okay. Thank you. I apologize. I didn't know.
Okay. So who else was asking another question? I was gonna answer some other questions. Julie, go ahead. I'm done. Julie, go ahead.
I'm not sure which question you might be talking about.
No, I would, go ahead.
I was wanting to point out another bill that's going to affect kids with disabilities. HSB 727, which was in committee today. It's about cutting the AEAs down to 4 regions for the entire state. That's where all the special education services come from.
Yeah, even though I don't like AEAs because of my experience with AEAs and special education, I know that cutting it to the quadrant regions or having only 4 regions throughout the state, even I know that's a bad idea. So, yeah, that's not something I support either.
Tracy Ellert out of Cedar Rapids, representative, is in that committee, and she was raising flags on that one.
Mm-hmm. I can send that to you, Michelle. I can pull that bill up, or Shelly, I can pull that bill up and send it to you.
Well, thank you, Eric.
Yep.
I've got a link to that bill on my Twitter too. I've posted it today.
I'll go look. I appreciate you guys so much.
Yep.
Gosh. When will it end? Ugh.
When we get Kim Reynolds out of office.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Gosh.
Yes, we have a lot of work to do, and like Eric said, we do not give up. We have to keep pushing. That's why we're all here.
Yeah. You know, I'm a retired nurse too. Well, I'm retired. I know that you're still practicing, Deb, but I'm 100% disabled veteran, so I'm medically retired. And I used to do peds nursing in NICU, and then I moved on to adult critical care. So I did ICU. So, you know, taking care of kids and fighting for their rights is also a big thing that I want to do when I get to the Capitol. And I just wish I could fast forward to the election and just, I just want to get this over with.
Because you just want to get to work.
I really do. I just want to end this nightmare. I want session to end so they can't do any more stupid crap. Like, we just need to end session before they can break anything else.
I feel like for the first day of session after we're elected, bring a mop and bucket. We're going to clean up this mess.
Oh, yes. You and I are going to get along so good.
By the way, sarcasm is my superpower.
Did you watch that Jimmy?
You'll like Molly Donahue too then. I love Molly.
What was that? Molly who?
There was
Sorry.
a there was a Jimmy Kimmel episode where he asked everybody what their superpower was,
Oh,
and everybody was reading about it. So I was wondering if that's what she was talking about.
Oh, no, It's just my superpower. I didn't even know Jimmy Kimmel had caught on to that.
I think a lot of nurses have sarcasm as their superpower. It's how we survive.
Mhm,
It's how we avoid saying what we really want to say.
mhm.
It's like,
Okay.
are we? Yeah.
Well, we're on announcements and I don't really have anything else on that. And I guess we can adjourn our meeting.
Wait, you said we're gonna resolutions, Julie.
Oh, resolution.
All
Thank
right.
you so much
Deb,
for that reminder. Okay. Julie has a resolution that was written with Tom Harkin's article in the Des Moines Register. And he laid it out pretty clearly, and I would really like all of your input on it. And we also need to add something about caregivers getting a living wage. I know, find my window.
As you're looking for that, John Wills is the representative up here. And a year ago, when a father at a meet and greet was saying that his daughter was in some kind of group home, was not getting adequate support, that there were times that he would find her with her meds stuck in her teeth because nobody bothered to make sure she swallowed them. And John Will's answer was, and the father says, what can you do to upgrade Medicaid? And John Will's answer was, well, here's the problem. Casey's pays entry-level workers too much money.
what?
I wrote it down. So I don't know if that means he thinks he should get to dictate what private companies pay rather than work to upgrade Medicaid. I did not understand that answer, but it certainly did that poor father no good.
Pardon me while I look for stuff. Must have closed it accidentally.
I posted 348, Senate File 348 in the chat.
Thank you.
Yep.
So do they think that the caring for your fellow human being, which is a skilled, you have to take a test, you have to take college classes, you have to be a skilled worker to pass out meds. I mean, you know, even if you're just on a med cart, you still have to test out to pass out meds.
Oh, yeah.
And then to do care planning, you have to at least be a registered nurse to do care planning. Even an LPN can't do care planning. She has to, if she wants to fill out a care plan, or he has to they still have to have an RN sign off on the care plan. And then a director of nursing that's doing care planning on a resident, like a director of nursing, they're required to update that care plan anytime there's a significant change in the health and welfare of their patients. So anytime there's a med change, anytime there's an infection, anytime there's a lab. I mean, so this means it's continuous.
Yeah, and the father's point was that they were really understaffed because they did not have, the funds to keep and attract good help. And as they've got one person doing like the meds or whatever, possibly for the entire group, they were just in a hurry, shoving them down them and didn't even have time to see they swallowed them.
Yeah, because if you're doing med
scary.
pass up med cart and you've only got one person doing med pass for 30 patients, one med pass can take, a couple of hours. If you're doing it where you're grinding them up and putting them in a pill and mixing them with the pudding and running up and down the hallway, that is labor intensive. And if the person, they put these people on stock meds to make money, because you can bill Medicare for all this stuff. So these people will get a shit ton of vitamins plus their prescription meds. So then that makes med pass a flippin' nightmare. It can take hours. So yeah, I can imagine what that is. It's a very difficult thing to solve. Yes.
And I was talking to our new senator, Senator Raleigh, and mentioned I had a significant health issue this summer, and I needed dressing change twice a day. That would make 14 times in a week. The insurance I paid for would only pay someone to come 3 times a week. And I had to, fortunately had a cousin who's an RN and would come and do it. And I asked, what can you do to help with that? And he says, yes, isn't it a shame that people don't come and volunteer like they used to?
What the crap is that? That's not evidence-based care or science.
I know.
You could get an infection from people who don't know how to do sterile procedure. People don't volunteer for that.
Yeah. Anyway, so their outlook on appropriate healthcare, just anyway, I see
You want
Julie,
somebody from your church to come do your dressing change?
she's an RN. In fact, I had 2 RNs and they took turns, but if I didn't have them, you know, I don't know what I do. Anyway, I see that my resolution is up here. I'm sure it's twice
All right.
too long. I just didn't know how to cut it.
So you basically lifted Tom Harkin's words for the most part. And it made sense because, you know, he's already writing like he's going to propose something and someone should propose it, right? So this needs to be a resolution, but it needs tooling. And I wonder, I'm not going to be so great at the like editing and hearing what you want to change. So if you want to change something, it could go in the chat and then I could copy it.
Well, resolutions don't need to be edited for shortness. That's platform.
Okay,
So
well,
resolution.
Okay, thank you, Michelle, for the input, because it's the platform I want to put it into, but I don't know how to do it. I want to propose this at our platform committee tomorrow night.
I understand. Okay.
Okay, so it's definitely too long for a platform thing, but I didn't know what to do.
Is everyone able
Well,
to read it?
your
okay?
platform committee can help you shorten it down. So like you can take it to them as, this is my rationale. Can you help me write platform that meets this? And then they'll be like, oh, we're wonks. We love to do platform. And then they can maybe grow something out of this.
Okay.
Does that help you like relieve your stress a little bit? Like,
well, yeah, that's fine. If we
you email it out to them.
So
Yeah.
as it is, it could be a resolution, but then
and what do you do with the
edit it out.
resolution? What do you do with the resolution?
Well, we put it out as, you know, a press release. We say that we make an announcement. We do all our social media stuff. And we also talk to, I think, you know, the rest of the SEC and say we did this and just basically spread the word, I guess. Am I wrong on that? Is there another step where maybe you're talking to your candidates and say, hey, we wrote this resolution. Would you support it? Would it help direct them in their stances? This is suggested legislation. Figure out how to do it. This is what we want.
All right, let me see what I can do here.
I was kind of thinking that maybe we didn't need the descriptive thing. This is supportive of individual rights and freedom. Freedom with, I mean, if you're just trying to get the nuts and bolts of something, do you need the why and how?
Because Shelly.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Yeah. Isn't there like a word limit, like 500 words? At certain levels, there's word limits, right? And the word limits get less as you go higher. So it's you know, like 100 words at the state level, 500 words at the district level, and another limit. The lower you go through the levels, the more words you can use.
Oh, okay, so I can help you understand that, Eric. So by the time you get to the state platform, the, so, each section of the platform will be assigned a word limit,
Mhm.
and then all together it'll equal that 3,000.
Okay.
And the state platform committee will vote and decide which category will get how many words. So usually government gets the lion's share. And then for instance, like what my little portion got, like military and veterans affairs, I think we got like 200, but
Mhm.
which was fine because I was able to get what we needed. We actually came in under, and then we were able to give what we didn't need to another section of platform that
Mhm.
needed more, so that we
Mhm.
could all work it out. So, but what she can do is submit, this is the rationale, and then keep her plank really short and just,
See, I'm glad you're on platform, Shelly, because this is why I'm on the rules committee. I don't deal with this because I'm wordy too. So,
yeah, because
I'm like 1,000 words is me.
Yeah.
3,000 words, that's just me.
right, because we want to decrease length of stay in the hospital. Because if you wait till something gets you really, really sick before you seek care or receive care, it increases your length of stay in the hospital, and you end up getting care that requires more intensive care.
Mhm.
And that also increases your mortality risk, and your risk for infection increases. And so really our care should be geared towards maintenance, preventative care. And one of the biggest reasons we need to make sure people that have disabilities get their care in their homes is it helps prevent all of these things. And
Mhm.
federal law is clear that if a person qualifies for institutional care under Medicaid, Medicaid must provide these services. So basically all of the things that she's saying lead up to the state must pay its share of the Medicaid bill. And it's time for Iowa to finally abide by the Americans with Disabilities Act. So she's asking basically to codify legislation that secures the right of any Iowans who suffer with disabilities. So really the platform that you're asking for is kind of your ending sentence. So you can really shorten it all up to your ending statement.
Part right here.
And
This could be the ending sentence.
no,
No.
her ending statement is really her platform, I think. Her therefore at the end.
This part, therefore, Iowa should pass, like, okay, if I'm to copy this,
That right there is what she really needs to shorten up and kind of submit as her platform is
How
the
many
end.
words is that, Shelly?
It's a
How many
lot.
words?
It's
It-
202.
yeah, her end there. So that is, and you have to remember that platform can't legislate. It can suggest. It's a statement of beliefs
mhm.
and what we
Okay.
support. So you can ask that we pass legislation, but what you're supposed to say is we support the rights of any Iowan who qualifies for institutional care under Medicaid to receive services in an at-home or community-based setting.
We support the rights of Iowans. To,
Have? I don't know.
I'm not so good at this part because
It's
Yeah.
okay.
I'm not
It's
either.
recording. It's recording. So just remember that it's recording. So
do,
so we support the rights, you know,
Of Iowans who qualify. Right?
for institutional care
okay, under Medicaid to receive those services in a home or community.
You don't have to use the word those, to receive services in home or community-based setting via independent agency such as Disability Rights Iowa. So I would hesitate to name an agency outright.
Right.
I
because
wondered about that.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
that we need to remove name.
I would just say independent agency. And then probably just reword it to say, and they should have the right to arbitration.
Can I
Oh,
put
there you
this
go.
in the chat here? And then if anyone wants to help out, if they wanted to write something, I'm just kind of bad at this.
No, you're doing great.
I think you're doing great. Did you catch what I said?
Okay, so I got the first sentence, but you were saying independent agency would be the arbiter, but you were also saying an independent agency was the one providing care. Is that correct? Or did I hear you wrong?
I don't think we can name a specific agency. I
Well,
think that they
That's
should
why
have,
it's gone. It's gone.
okay. But
So
they
right
should have
now-
the right to have an independent agency
Oh.
to settle dispute or request arbitration between the individual and the caregiver in the state regarding the quality of their care or services provided, and to propose extensions of or curtailment of services.
Okay, they should be able to request an independent agency.
Well, how about just request arbitration?
Well, that's what I said is arbitration, but there's more than just arbitration. They should be able to ask for extensions for, for their services or curtailment, those are some very specific things that are a little bit outside the scope of arbitration that are key points that I agree we should say we support, because we really support their autonomy and their ability to stay in their homes as long as possible, and any extra services that they might need to help them stay in their home. So it is kind of important to make sure we put that full spectrum in there of everything that they might need. And make that clear.
They should be able to
Because-
request an independent agency.
Yeah.
To what? What are those 2 or 3 things that are beyond arbitration that we should mention?
Well, they're right there. The extension or curtailment of services, quality of care, or resolving disputes. Yeah. So we've shortened it quite a bit here. And I would say if you took this to a platform committee, along with your long statement, which is your rationale, that will help your platform committee work on it.
Okay.
So what do you think, everyone, right now?
I agree with what Shelly said.
That this is a short and sweet, clear direction, which does not specify how it should be done, but what should be done.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, once we have it like we like it, do you want to send that out to different people that you know throughout the counties that are on platform committees? I mean, how do we get that out?
So I'm on the Muscatine County Dems platform committee. Our last meeting is this Saturday morning. It starts at 10. If you send it to me, I'm doing Health and Human Services, and I'm doing Veterans Affairs. So I still have my 2 parts of platform left to do that we haven't voted on yet. So if you can get it to me by Saturday morning at 10, I can present it to my platform committee to get voted on. So
Okay.
I can take it to my Muscatine County Dems to vote on, and then try to push it through my county convention and then try to take it to district out
Okay,
here in my district. So I can help you get it through out here.
okay, can you put your email in the chat?
Yes, I can do that for you.
Okay,
I am happy
thank
to
you.
help.
And you just want this
I
last
can
part?
connect everyone.
Oh, or can
So-
you just send this out to us right now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Do that quick. This is exciting, isn't it? We're doing something.
It is. Thank you
We're
so much,
actually
because I
working
just
in our
had
meeting.
no idea how to go about it.
If you're all fine with this, I'm gonna stop the share. And who am I sending to? Let's see. Shelly.
Yep. And oh, which report measures that?
You can send it to me too, Julie.
You want this too, Deb?
She wants it. She had told me that in a private comment.
I don't know. Do you want this too, Eric?
Yes.
Okay. And Madeline. Resume. Okay. All right, I think I got everyone.
Okay, thank you.
I love it.
Thank you for all your help.
Well, I think that it's a really good resolution. It's a really important talking point that I think a lot of people, it's just, they don't have a real big frame of reference for it because it's not part of a lot of everyday people's everyday lives. It doesn't really affect a lot of people, so they just don't think about it,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the education that we're all involved in.
Not everybody can be taught compassion or empathy.
Mhm. Maybe I could look for possibly out to some more counties. Maybe a couple people, other people I know that are on platform that maybe want to have this in their wheelhouse. And this will go on a resolution ballot. And we also have resolutions from Shelly's caucus that was passed last Saturday. And I actually still have that. If you're still game for a description of that.
Yeah, they could just read through mine. I don't have to talk about it. They're just self-explanatory. It's getting late. It's fine.
I'm sorry, my Windows was covering up the captioning. Yeah, I can read it at least. It's very short. I just have to find it. I had it up and it disappeared. Oh, okay. I keep forgetting that the problem of having too many things up, too many windows. Okay, one more thing. Okay, here are the resolutions. There were 3 of them. Veterans Caucus stands with every farmer fighting against politically stacked utilities board, section 69.16, Iowa Utilities Board, and abuse of eminent domain for corporate greed on unproven hazardous waste pipelines. We support use of hemp for biofuels, solar energy capture, wind energy, and carbon negative solutions. This is Shelly's version of the resolution points that we were making in the SCC meeting with Emma Schmidt's full resolution, which I also have too. But this brings it down to a plank, short piece here, very good to use for a plank. So I will put this on the ballot to vote on. Does anyone see any discussion points? This was already passed in Veterans Caucus, but I would add our resolution to our ballot as well.
And Shelley, I'll say that our representative up here at the last meet and greet was talking about the eminent domain and the utility board and whatever, and was very much against it. And if he's against it, you know, I'm going to guess most of them are, you know, they kind of vote in a block. So at least that part I can tell you that I'm sure will work out.
Yeah. One of the things that a lot of the farmers that came back from or a lot of veterans that came back from some of the different wars because of PTSD, they couldn't really fit well in the corporate sandbox. So a lot of them, when they came back, they were able to go through USDA and get grants, use their no money down home loans, VA benefit, and buy first time farms. And because of PTSD, they could be farmers and they could support their families and work for themselves. And so this also affects veterans, farmers. And so that's one of the reasons why Veterans Caucus wanted to be in support of farmers that this affects and their families and their beneficiaries, because farmer or veterans that are 100% disabled don't have to pay property taxes. But if there's an easement against their land, it'll make their property values go down. This is what they're afraid of. And their children, their grandchildren, or the people that, you know, they leave their land to, they're really afraid that if something like this happens near their land, that this will affect the people that they want to leave their land to. So that's what we're hearing about too with in our caucus. So I didn't have time, like during the SCC meeting, to even like we just couldn't even get to a discussion about all the different people that this affects and how big it really is and how deep and how many layers it goes to. It really is a really big deal. So, all right. So, and then the other thing that we have with the affirming that Russia has invaded Ukraine, a sovereign country, and that we, the Iowa Democratic Party Veterans Caucus, urge President Biden to support Ukraine's request for a no-fly zone. I don't think anybody else, I mean, our caucus, we're the veterans. And if the veterans who have gone off and fought these wars, and if we're saying we support this, I would think that we've got some skin in the game. Maybe people should listen to us. So we wanted to just urge the president to take a listen, because there's no such thing as having an alliance from the borders of a country that's under attack if they think that Putin is going to stop magically once he hits the border of Poland. That's like thinking that Hitler was going to stop, because he didn't either. I mean, appeasement never works. So, and then the last one we had was what you all can see here. We support Iowa's transgender youth and oppose the trans ban laws signed by the governor, as well as the use of the Attorney General's office to fight the state's legal battles regarding the trans ban law. And like I said at the beginning of the meeting, in 2018, we are the ones that fought hard to get the trans ban put on the platform last time, and that's where you'll find it. But we never imagined back then that they would attack the children. And so that's what was missing. And so sure enough, here we are. So I would greatly appreciate you all's consideration of these resolutions, and for all of our caucuses to be an alliance as we try to be a voice for the people here in Iowa. And thank you.
Okay, so I would like to say I second.
Thank you, Shelly.
I'll second the last two bullets specifically. I mean, it's not like I don't support the first bullet. I just wanted to highlight the fact that I support the third bullet on your sheet there, Shelly, because I really like those last two. So I just wanted to point that out, that I'm supporting those last two very specifically.
Well,
like what you did there.
To make that your vote on this resolution, Eric, because this will go on a ballot that all of our caucus will be able to vote on.
Yeah, I'll even vote for the first one, but I just wanted to highlight very specifically out loud, I like the two remaining ones.
Sure. Okay, well, thank you very much, Shelly, for reminding me that we needed to do this work. The long meeting to get through, and I appreciate all of you sticking around and doing this. And I feel, very glad that we were able to work together and produce something tonight.
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm very happy for that. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Great. So I guess it's good night for now, and I hope that you'll consider attending our next meeting. And of course, if you're interested in helping with Deidre DeJear town hall idea, please email me. And we also need questions for candidates for endorsement. And, maybe Deb, you would be like, what are the questions? Really, what do I want my fellow legislators to answer? I may already know everything that I want, but what can I call them to support? I would love your help with that. If that's not too much work, I know you're busy.
I've got a kid over here asking questions over my shoulder. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in what questions you're going to have for endorsements.
And maybe you can help write them.
Like that'd be stacking the deck.
That's all right.
Well, I just mean with your experience already that you probably have a good idea of what everyone should be considering.
Just like, if we were going to endorse a certain gubernatorial candidate, what's her knowledge of disability issues?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was going to say, apparently not enough.
Yeah. And how open is she to actually sitting down with somebody and learning these things?
That's what we're gonna find out. And I'm kind of weighing whether we should send her the questions ahead of time or not. Because it's good to be able to think on your feet and everything, but what if you don't have enough time to really get a good answer? Wouldn't it be helpful to have the questions ahead of time so you can think and consider and respond?
Well, and as long as
if it prompts her to take the time to educate herself so she can give good answers,
right,
rather than catching her off guard and her giving bad answers and undermining her own campaign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's true.
So
Shelly made a note that she might have a staffer fill it out. Well,
right.
I wouldn't want to see that necessarily, but it could be true.
what we could do is offer to consult with her and teach her like the advocacy and what we work on and why these issues are important to Democrats, and learn, you know, if she's willing to take the time, because, and we could say, look, we don't want to just send you another questionnaire because then she might be feeling like she's trying to guess what are the answers we want to hear her say. And then she won't know, well, what do I do? What do I say? What's going to make them happy? Because no candidate wants to feel like that. It's horrible. But then if we say, look, this is what's going on. This is what we hear all over Iowa because this is what we literally do. These are the demographics of people that we actually work with and advocate for ourselves. Let us invite you into our world. Let us teach you so that you can do a good job representing them. Because I went to the Wellstone Academy with Deidre. She wants to do a good job. Her heart is in the right place. But if you are willing to, you know, don't put extra pressure on her, but say, look, I know you're going to be a great governor. Let's get you elected. Let us help you communicate and let us help be ambassadors to these populations so that you can learn what their issues are. If you use the word ambassador with her, ding, 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 she's going to know what you mean. And then you're going to be able to get your foot in the door with her and be able to teach her what those needs are of the populations that you represent, and be able to affect and influence positive change for the people that you seek to help. It's just knowing how to convey that with her. But I don't think sending another survey for her to fill out or another questionnaire is gonna get you anywhere. Because
that
Or having a staffer do it.
separate from the town hall part. Questionnaires for our general candidates, but I really get what you're saying, Shelly, about not putting pressure on her and saying that we want to educate you and we want to be telling you about our issues. So you think that is really the town hall format right there? That, well,
I would
right.
offer to want to like meet with her before a town hall and prep her and
Oh,
explain
that
to
what
her.
you mean?
Yeah, you need to hook up with her prior to a town hall and say, this is a key issue. This is a key issue. And these are solutions that will help. And here's how we pay for those issues, or here's legislation in other states that solved those problems. And I mean, you can't expect her to invent the wheel for you to solve a problem if it hasn't worked anywhere else, because then you're asking her to put her neck on the line in front of an angry GOP that's bigoted. And then you can't ask her to do that for you. If you don't have the answer or solution to offer yourself, don't ask her to pull it out of the hat, because politically that's not what she can do right now. She's not in a place when she's 8 points behind where she can take big political risks. So we have to be also wise with what we ask of her and what we expect of her. Don't like, so when I told you when I was doing my bipartisan agenda for Vets Caucus, I had a big wish list. A million things, but I could only ask for the things that I had solutions for or proof of, bicameral legislative things that I knew that I had solution for or proof of that could work, or that I had language for, that I had Iowa Hospital Code, proof of that it intersected with the law in other places that it could work. And or like, so like my sliding scale for veterans for property tax exemption, I've got proof that it's worked in 3 or 4 other states, that it's working right now in Illinois. I've got proof that it increases population, it increases taxpayers moving from other states. I've got proof that it works, and I'm able to present it to the legislators that this is something that doesn't work for just GOP veterans, but it works for all veterans. And because I can do that, it's not just some random thing that Shelly just wants. It's something that can work for all veterans. And it takes it out of the realm of rhetoric into bipartisan action. So like if we want to ask the governor or a governor candidate for us to put her neck on the line for something that we want for disability population, then find language somewhere else where it works, or find out where a policy or procedure that we want works somewhere else in another state, and find the numbers, find the proof, find the evidence-based practice, find the science, find the law at the federal level, and prove how it can work here in Iowa, so that she has a talking point or a stat that she can rely on if you want her to talk about it herself when she's talking to her fellow Democrats, so that they can say, yes, we want that too, because then she can show what the Republicans are doing wrong and how it's detrimental to our disabled people. So if you're going to point out a problem, also always be ready to point out your solution.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Or else you.
Some research that appears daunting, because I feel like personally, I hardly know anything. I don't know what other states have done successfully, and we need to look at our resolution we just wrote and see what, things that we
The
can pull up.
resolution that she wrote, though, had her rationale was good. It was sound because she pointed out federal law and rules that supported it. It was a solid rationale, which is why it's appropriate for platform, because she has a rationale to go with it. So anytime you want to really support something for platform, you should always also provide a rationale, because platform has to go for debate. And whoever wants to present something for platform has to be willing to take it to debate and take it all the way to convention, and be willing to go to convention and debate it in front of the whole body at convention, and get something to pass and be voted on at convention. So you should always have your rationale and be ready. Mhm.
I was going to point out, as far as endorsement applications, I'm working on an endorsement application with a union, and they're actually having us, before we apply, do some candidate education sessions. And I think that's maybe kind of the approach we need to take, is that educate first, then ask them to apply, so that see if they understood what was put in front of them, so that they can carry it forward in their own legislation, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Rather than quizzing them to see what they already know, let's make the assumption that they may not know as much as they think they do.
Because what's going to be more effective, like what both of you are saying, in order to make these changes, we need the education. If the candidate doesn't have it, then we need to just educate them, because they'll be the one making those decisions and putting it forth.
And I think that's a major question that needs to be asked of a candidate, is how willing are you to listen and learn, basically? What is your experience with disability? Either as a caregiver or as a supporter or a family member of, and how willing are you to learn about issues surrounding disability so that you can be effective in advocating for them?
Agree.
We're not going to make the assumption that we're all, every candidate's going to have a background in it, but are they willing to learn?
Right.
Oh, no. I don't think every candidate does. Nope.
So a couple
Not everyone's a
things.
nurse.
Planning. It's gotten a bit more complicated. Now we need like a pre-town hall session, and we need some clear research and some ideas on what disability issues need fixing and how they've been fixed effectively elsewhere. So we badly need a couple of people to put this together.
An
I hope
education
that's scheduled too. I hope it's not going to be.
Now that her staff can help her with. She can set people on her staff
Oh, okay.
out for that. you definitely can ask her staff to help coordinate. I think it was Victoria Moon is on her staff. I don't know. And Victoria Moon, didn't
Coordinate
she
the
work for
education
Bernie's?
or just the appointment, I mean, schedule? I'm already in contact with her campaign manager. But
Right.
that's
So I
Tuesday.
would want to meet with, meet with her campaign manager and ask to set up some kind of Zoom or something and suggest all this stuff and see where she's at. But I would just start there and ask her what she thinks, but tell her you want to make sure that she's equipped and that she has a good frame of reference for these issues, so that when you get to the point where we do have a forum, that Deidre could be well versed and able to communicate effectively with the disability community.
Good thing to give to her is that long version platform resolution that has the description of the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She needs to have a
Why
frame of
reinvent the wheel? You've
exactly.
already written it.
Yeah.
Well, I stole it from Senator Harkin.
Borrowed it because
Yeah.
it's all for a good cause.
Okay.
Yeah, it's from his article that just came out on the Des Moines Register, his op-ed, and Tom Harkin
The
is the
Divine
gold
Register.
standard, so we're starting with very, very good stuff.
I wouldn't say it's that good of a paper.
The Divine
He wrote
Register.
it, and it has the basic points, and he even sounded a bit angry. He said, "This is shameful," at one point in the article. So we'll take his activist voice and we'll take his energy and we'll
Go
use
get him.
I think he would
But
support us
I
doing
hadn't seen
that.
that op-ed yet.
Yeah, Eric, I think so too.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I have. I've seen links to it. Okay. I've seen it.
Yeah, Tucker Cassidy had posted the link online is how I came across it.
I'm going to have to go check out the Divine Register now.
Divine Register.
I think that's what you had
Are
said,
you
Julie.
captioning? Yeah,
The
that's what
Divine
it said.
Register. I'm sorry, we're still on that.
I think somebody needs to make a knockoff paper called the Divine Register. Make it all about disability issues.
That's the Republican version.
Oh, true. We might get confused with that.
That's what Republicans read.
For any of you that are in rural areas, got an email from my county party tonight that what is it?
Rural.
Meet the Press is going to come into Iowa March 21st through 23rd, wanting to talk about rural voters' relationship with the Democratic Party.
Oh, so you got this from the IDP today, or?
I know she wrote to our county party. Apparently she found us.
From who?
Yeah, since rural county. So apparently she's planning coming to visit Cedar County. So I don't know, maybe I can slip a few things there about disability services in rural areas.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, transportation access services from rural areas, that's a real problem. And
Oh, yes.
I don't live in a rural area, but I know enough about the history of my advocacy for people with disabilities to know that's a real problem. And regional transportation, I know there's Black Hawk County would say, well, we have regional transit. Like, yeah, but that's not enough. So
Yeah, one bus, better hope that its time coming through town lines up with your appointments.
I think we may have a couple of buses, but it's not too much more. It's not a multiple fleet. I think it may be a couple of buses in Black Hawk County. And some of that may go to other counties around Black Hawk County too. So 1 or 2 buses is just about right, what you said there.
Yeah, well, I know the one person who drives the one bus in Tipton. And she parks it in her driveway at night.
Yep,
Wow.
I can believe that. Go ahead, Shelly.
I'm still saying wow.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it's,
Fun.
yeah,
Get some
people with
exposure.
disabilities in transportation in rural areas, it's darn near non-existent.
Yeah.
You have to plan your appointments around when the bus is available, not schedule the bus for when you need it for your appointments.
Well, yeah, I get that. I
That-
had to buy myself a Jeep.
That's true even in the city. The second part of where you have to schedule your life around when the buses are, not schedule your appointments about when you need the buses. Yeah, that's true. No matter where you are.
So we'll probably be calling another meeting just to do a work session, work on some of this stuff for the town hall. And I will start a conversation with the campaign manager and lay out kind of what we want to do, for maximum impact. So thank you so much for the really good ideas, everyone. If there's nothing else, I guess we might adjourn. We've done very good work tonight. So give yourself pats on the back.
So when do I get to brag and say I'm part of the Disability Caucus?
Right now.
Good,
That
okay.
ballot will be, I'll just make it all on the resolution ballot. I'm gonna add your name to that.
Yeah, but I think that is a credential I'd be proud to put on my campaign. Member of the Iowa Disability Caucus.
Do you support veterans?
Yes, I do. My
Well, then
son
you
is
can be
one of
part
them.
of the Vets Caucus too.
My son is a vet and I used to be a civilian employee for the Navy. I was a Navy
yeah.
Children's Center preschool teacher.
Well, yeah, come on over. You can join us
Oh yeah,
too.
and my husband's a civil employee for the Department of Defense.
Oh yeah, you should definitely, you guys can all of you. We could use all of you. The more the merrier. We need everybody.
My husband, being a federal employee, is pleasantly exempt from doing anything for my campaign.
Ha 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 ha.
Pleasantly exempt.
Yeah.
The more people we get involved in the constituency caucuses and getting them engaged and participating, the more people that we can help give voice to the minority rights. And because I think a lot of people don't realize that this is where their space is to get to voice their needs. And then that's what our jobs are, is to go out there and say, hey, these concerns are being voiced or these needs are being voiced. And then people like Julie and I will literally get in our cars and drive to the Capitol and ding dong on the legislators and say, hey, what's going on here? These things are going on. Our people are saying they need these things. Their rights are being violated. What can we do here? Why are you passing this bad bill? And you will go to public commenting. I go to public commenting, I speak out, and then it becomes a matter of public record. And I will say, I am the state chairwoman of the Veterans Caucus of the Iowa Democratic Party. And we oppose this because it violates the civil rights of veterans all around the state. And I'll make it clear that I'm not just talking about Democratic veterans. I say what you're doing is going to violate the rights of every veteran, so that they'll get caught on the record voting against the rights of every veteran when they're going to pass a bad bill. So, that's what we do. We'll leverage, we'll put pressure on them. And that's one of the ways, we can be effective and help affect and influence change, or try to help stop stuff. But we'll work with ACLU. We will call, we will email, we'll put out alerts. We'll try to put out statements through the IDP, through the press release. I mean, we try to put every tool at our disposal. A lot of it's social media. Try to talk to our local media, try to have our caucus meetings. Excuse me. But what it comes down to is we really have got to start getting the public more involved. And under COVID, I think things have just really fallen down and people have been keeping to themselves because obviously they've had to. But I'm hoping with vaccination and maybe the world's gonna come back a little bit more, that people can start getting engaged again. And we can start reaching out to people more and getting people more engaged. I hope.
I'm learning a lot about the legislative side from both Shelly and Eric. And I've sort of found my place in the writing and the activating and the event, as well as press releases and things. So just, I've never ever used my voice so much in my life as in the last 2 years. And I'm also an artist, making work that touches on some social justice issues. So, it's all wrapped up in one thing right now, kind of just activating. So, well, thank you all for
Good night.
being here tonight. And this meeting is adjourned if I have a second.
Second.
I'm going to save our transcript. It'll be a very, very long.
Well, but good work gets done, you make good
Yep.
trouble.
Yep.